So today we will discuss treatment and transmission of HIV. So before discussing that, how we will get to know the presence of HIV? So for that reason, there are some tests that we have to do in order to recognize the presence of HIV. So number one is blood test. One is blood test. Number second is saliva test. There will be saliva test. And number third will be nucleic acid test. Like how much how much our DNA is in the cell is ours, and how much DNA in our cell is theirs. So we will get to know about this, and by this test. Number fourth is antibody. This is antibody test. This is how we will get to know that if there is any production of antibodies, if the virus have been awake from the latent period or not. So these are some tests which are required in order to check the presence of virus. In order to check the presence of virus. Then actually there is no cure for HIV. There is no vaccine. Research is still going on, but still there is no cure for HIV. But there is a treatment which is quite helpful in order to, it will decrease the activity of this cell of this virus, but it will not eliminate this virus. So that therapy is known as antiretroviral therapy. So now what is this? So basically antiretroviral therapy. So what we do, we make some drugs. By this we make some drugs by the help of enzymes. By the help of enzyme inhibitors, we use some enzyme inhibitors. So we basically use some enzyme inhibitors so that we can decrease the enzymatic actions of that HIV. So what happens, we make certain drugs and we use enzyme inhibitors in that. For example, we are having Descovy is there, Rukobia is there, and Truvada. So basically these are the drugs these are actually drugs which are made by the enzyme inhibitors. They contain enzyme inhibitors in order to what will be the result, in order to decrease activity, decrease in viral activity of. So why we use these drugs? In order to decrease viral activity in the cell, because when the HIV makes its own genome, when it do reverse transcription, it take over the cell, it controls all the cellular activities, and it controls the whole cells, right? And it destroys T helper cells. So in order to decrease viral activity, we use these enzyme inhibitors that are used as a drugs, and this therapy is known as antiretroviral therapy. Why? What is the what will the benefit after using this? It will, what will do, it will increase the chance of life, like there will be prolonged life. It will increase the chances of life by using this antiretroviral therapy. But there are some disadvantages of using this therapy. Is first of all, there, it is quite costly. Second, it will lessen the quality of life. It will lessen the actually it lessens the quality of life. So that's the disadvantages. So that's the only disadvantage of this antiretroviral therapy. So what is this? It's the only production of drugs in which enzyme inhibitors are used, for example Discovery, Ricobia, and Truvada. So how this HIV is transmitted, like how we will talk about the transmission, right? I will talk about transmission. So basically they are transferred by, first of all, by blood transfusion. If you have transferred blood from someone else and that person have HIV, and obviously maybe it will be in latent period, so we will not be known about that. So we will be not known. So if you have transferred that person's blood into your body, so you will be also developing the virus HIV, and ultimately the disease AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, right? So there are other transmissions too, through sexual contacts, like you're having sexual contact with the person who is having HIV, by urinogenital fluids, by this, by expressed wounds. For example, when you are sometimes going in to the barber, and there is a cut on your body, and for example there is a cut in your body, and you are using the towel of that same person who was having HIV, so ultimately you will be also developing the HIV virus. Expressed wounds. Other is through placenta, which will help in fetus development, right? And moreover, in breastfeeding, like a mother, if a mother is having HIV, so she should not do this, because the HIV will transmit to her child then. Breastfeeding. And the most importantly, by using unsterilized syringes. By using unsterilized syringes. So these were the some transmissions that can happen. Now what's the precautions a person can take? Precautions. Right. So the first precaution is that should avoid unsterilized syringes, right? Should avoid sexual contact with different people, and should follow the rules of Islamic teachings. Religion principles. right? And it must get vaccinated, like the person must get vaccinated from the opportunistic vaccination of opportunistic infections, right? They should get vaccination of opportunistic infection. They should avoid unsterilized syringes and sexual contact, and they should do them on the principles of religion, of their religion, right? So this was this. Let me show you the Discovery, Rukobia, and Truvada. So this is basically, so you can see over here, this is the drug which I was talking about, which helps in, which basically helps in antiretroviral therapy. It is a drug, and this Rukobia is also a drug which helps in, Rukobia is also a drug which helps in antiretroviral therapy. It contains enzyme inhibitors which inhibit the viral actions of the HIV virus. I hope the concept of transmission and treatment of HIV is clear to you. If you have any questions, you can just